Welcome to Thursday. It is Meet the Press Daily. Good evening. I am Chuck Todd here in Washington on a day when coronavirus fears are spreading. They sent markets plummeting again today. The Dow closed down nearly 1,000 points again, wiping out most of yesterday's gains. More evidence that Wall Street and the economy at large remains on edge. There are now more than 200 cases across the country. Tennessee and Nevada are the newest states reporting their first cases. And new cases were reported today in Illinois, Florida, New York, Washington, and in California, which is now under a state of emergency. The governor of California declared that emergency after the state's first death. Now, that man first developed symptoms while on a cruise ship. It's the same ship that is now being ordered to stay offshore, and passengers on the ship are being tested. They dropped testing kits from a helicopter. At least 21 people on board are showing some symptoms. Washington State has been the hardest hit, with another death reported today, bringing the total there to 11, most of them connected to the outbreak at a nursing home outside of Seattle. The number of cases in the state rose sharply today, from 43 to 74. And now officials in and around Washington's largest city are recommending people stay home if they can and avoid large gatherings. I'm going to speak with the mayor of Seattle about the city's response in just a moment. Vice President Mike Pence is on his way to Washington State, where he will meet with Governor Jay Inslee on how best to contain the spread there. Here in D.C., the Senate this afternoon followed the House and voted to approve $8.3 billion in emergency funding. It's nearly 3 times the amount that the president initially said he was requesting. Also on the Hill today, health officials were pressed on comments President Trump made last night, where he seemed to downplay the threat of the virus. And after briefing lawmakers, those officials told reporters that the virus's mortality rate may be in the range of 0.121%, which of course would be significantly lower than what the World Health Organization's report claimed of more than 3%. Meanwhile, more testing kits are being sent to labs across the country as the government tries to make more testing more widely available. That's still an issue. Till that testing is available, we may not have a clear picture of the scope of this outbreak, so we might not know the mortality rate very well. And it's that uncertainty that actually seems to be impacting, well, everything right now. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Meet the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.